There, that's better. Sorry, I muted myself. This is a game that we picked up at Origins, I believe. The publisher was there, and they had a cool game, and this one looked like one we wanted to check out. So we looked at it, we played it, and we bought it. And this is effectively it's a little abstract game where players are you're trying to build fish. You're putting tiles on fish, kind of Azul style. And you're doing that by drafting these tiles. There's going to be tiles out in the middle of the table, and you're going to be drafting some of them or getting rid of some of yours. And what you're trying to do is you are trying to basically create scales on your fish. My computer is slow. Create scales on your fish to make patterns. So you can see on this one, you want to have certain kinds of fish and certain patterns. That's not very big. Now it's real big. My computer hates me sometimes. So we're just going to close that out. But so I want to have those color scales in that pattern. If I can do that, I can take that card and it's going to be worth some points. I can try to go the black route, which are wilds. They're going to give you points. White ones are going to give you points. There's multiple different ways you can score points in this game, but at its heart, it's drafting some tiles, putting them on your fish, trying to form groups and patterns and all that kind of thing. Really fun game. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's just a lot of fun to play. I enjoy it. It looks awesome on the table, has great table presence, and I'm a huge fan. So that's my number 130, The Finest Fish. Now we got to prep for number 129, because 129 is a good one. Let's go back to me. All right, we'll get rid of that. 129. If you want to chat, if you're on, you want to drop some comments, you can drop some comments. I'll be glad to chat with you. While I pull up my 129. While I'm pulling up, this is a game we got at a Black Friday sale at a board game store. And I'm a huge fan of this one as well. I'm also a huge fan when I game $5. And that's what this one was. And this is Fool's Gold. So Fool's Gold is number 129. This is a push your luck game. It's a push your luck worker placement game, basically, where you are going to these different mining sites. There's the river, there's the lake. Let me see if I can pull up a picture. Oh, it's actually working now. Let's see. Let's go here. So there's like the river, the lake, the mountains, the hills, and there's going to be dice at each of these locations. You can see on this picture here, maybe, that the dice are at the locations. If there's no dice at the location, you can't mine there. But when you put a meeple there, it's going to make this mine will be more valuable. The more dice and the more people, the more cards you're going to flip. It's number of dice times people. So you'd flip 4 cards from this purple deck right here, if that's the way that it stands. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get gold and you're trying to get crystals out of these different decks. There's also like soot, and there's false alarms, there's fool's gold, all that kind of thing that can make you draw less cards. And at the end of the game, you're trying to have the most points as you can. But the tricky thing with this one is if you have one mine where you have the most gold, that's considered fool's gold, and you can't score those points. So you're trying to keep all of your mines even, not spend a ton of time in one mine, because you're going to basically just waste time and, lose your points. That's it. It's a really fun little bidding game of sorts, a worker placement bidding game, kind of solid. I enjoy it, and that's it. So that's my number 129, Fool's Gold. Back to me while I pull up number 128. All right, what is 128? Ooh, 128 is a good one. It's a good one. It's a game that I never thought I would like. I never thought that this game would be for me. But you're about to see what it is, and it's going to blow your mind. So number 128 is a game that has an app. And that game is Forgotten Waters. And this is a game where everyone's taking on the role of a pirate, and you are trying to fulfill these different scenarios. In one of them, maybe you're trying to just make it to a certain island and with some gold. I'm not giving you the actual scenarios. You may have to fight like a kraken in some of them. And you're trying to do that before a certain thing happens that kills you. There's lots of ways you can die. There's only one way for you to win, and that is to beat the scenario. So in this game, it's played on a book. Everyone's going to take on the role of somebody from the pirate crew. So you're going to have someone who's track of the food, who's track of the crew members, who's track of the hull, who's track of the cannons. And then every round, there's going to be a timer, and there's going to be worker placement spaces that you have to send your pirates out onto the book, to take those actions. Some of them are mandatory. Some of them are not. Some of them multiple people can go to. Some of them will be off limits. And then you're going to answer some questions, roll some dice, do some checks, and you're trying to basically figure out what you need in this page, in this scenario, read some passages in the app, which has really awesome like audio recordings, and try to just progress your scenario and win before you lose. It doesn't seem like a game that I should like. But now who knows? The world's topsy-turvy. I also really like Return of Dark Tower. So maybe this is a game that I would like. But I'm a huge fan. My only complaint is it's kind of long. So I don't love that about it. But aside from that, it's an enjoyable game. So that's my number 128, Forgotten Waters. All right, back to me while I set up number 127. Number 127 is an Alexander Pfister game. So I'll do a little spoilers there. And this is the one that I've played on Board Game Geek a whole bunch of times. Or not Board Game Geek, Board Game Arena. And I've only played it in real life a couple times. And that game is Maracaibo. So Maracaibo it's a campaign game. Sorry, I got to take a drink. It's a campaign game. Well, you can play it as a campaign game, but it's really like you can just play a single game as well. And what you're doing is you are taking on the role of like a pirate crew or something, and you're traveling around this rondel. The board is a rondel. It's different islands, different cities you can visit. You can kind of see it here. And what you're trying to do is you are trying to drop off some of your workers at these different locations, use the actions at the spaces. You're trying to also up here, you're trying to influence the military to get these cubes off the track and onto the board, because that's going to advance you on these tracks to help you score a bunch of points. You're trying to complete these contracts here, which you can see are at some of the locations here. There's also some exploration that you can do in the bottom of the board with a little hiker. The cards are really cool. They're like multi-use cards, so you have to use them sometimes to spend. But they're going to have a cost. They can be resources. They're going to have points. They're going to have certain actions you can do. They may give you tokens. Whole bunch of cool stuff in this game. There's a player board that has a bunch of tokens on it that you're trying to take tokens off so you can upgrade your ship, do more actions, and make the best of your game. This is a super fun game. I haven't played a campaign. I'm probably not gonna, because I like just the one-off game. There's enough going on that I don't need to add in another layer of complexity. But this game is a ton of fun. If you like Alexander Pfister, you like pirate games, you like exploration games, you like moving up on tracks, then this is a game you should check out because it is good. So that is 127, Maracaibo. All right, back to me while we talk about 126. All right, 126 is a game that I thought I liked way more, but after I did the countdown, this is where the ranking, this is where it ended. So this is a Bruno Cathala game. We really like Bruno Cathala games. I really like Bruno Cathala games. And this one has a lot of meeples. A lot of meeples. And it is called, wait for it, Five Tribes. So Five Tribes is a game. It's basically a Mancala game where you are going to pick up these meeples from a space, and you're going to drop them one at a time to different spaces on the board. Wherever you end is the action that you get is the space that you get to interact with, and whatever color you end with, you pick up all that color, and that's the action that you get to do there. So here's a picture of the board here. So like if that red one ended here, it would pick up all those red meeples, I get to do the action on the tile. And if I clear off the tile completely, I can put a camel there, and I now have the points on that tile, which will be 6. There's genies that you can acquire, which are basically like player powers. Every meeple is going to give you a different ability. There's temples and oasis. Those are just extra points if you own the tile. There's cards that you're trying to collect sets of. The more different ones you can get, the more you can sell those for money. You're just trying to have the most money here. One of the cool things about this game is there's a bidding. You can see these little towers here. You're going to pay money to bid for turn order, or you can bid 0. But the bidding 0 is going to make you go last. So the more money you bid, you get first dibs at the spaces on the board, but you're also giving up points at the end of the game. So really fun game. If you haven't tried it, I recommend it a lot because it is just a solid game and one that I'm a huge fan of. So yeah, Mancala, Bruno Cathala, 5 Tribes, good time. So that's my number 126, 5 Tribes. All right, 125 is, well, you know, another Bruno Cathala game. Bruno Cathala everywhere. And this is a game with a really cool theme that doesn't really come through in the game. And you'll see what I'm talking about once I pull it up. The game is called Abyss. Abyss is a push your luck game at its heart, effectively. And what you're doing in this game is you're going to be flipping some cards. You're going to have these little cards that you're flipping. Let me see if I can pull up a good picture. You're going to be flipping these cards, and the cards are going to have a certain color, which is like one of the factions. You can see the faction. That's the colors: blue, green, yellow, red, purple. And you're going to be flipping them up here. When you flip a card, you can decide if you want to keep it. If you don't, it can get auctioned off, and people will have to pay you pearls for it. But once it gets to this last space, if no one's taking it, you have to take that card. Okay, so you're going to flip, or you're going to take cards from a pile here. Anything that's discarded goes into the appropriate colored pile, or you're going to spin cards to buy these lords down here. They take certain values of numbers of cards and all that. And then as you're spending cards, you're also keeping the lowest value of the card that you spend because you're going to score additional points. There's some monsters you can fight that'll pop up. There's these different locations that some of these characters have keys. They'll give you locations that are kind of extra ways to score points. It's a fantastic game. It looks way bigger than it is. It's basically a little tiny push your luck game, but it's one that I am a huge fan of. I'm actually surprised it's not higher because I really do like this game. So I'm not sure why it's so low. But anyway, there it is. That's my number 125, Abyss. All right, so number 124. This is a really weird game. This is a game where you're rolling meeples. Now, that's a pretty big clue if you know what this game is. But there are a few games where you roll meeples. This one might be one of my favorites, though. And I'm going to say that with certainty because I've made this list. And I know that there aren't any more that you roll meeples on. And this game is called Quetzal. This is, it's like the City of the Birds or something. I don't know what it means. But you're basically rolling these meeples. And the meeples are two-sided. There's a black side and a white side. And they can also stand up, which they could be either side. And what you're trying to do is you are trying to basically do some bidding. You can see this section here. You're going to be bidding to take actions. So whoever has the most control and the location, that action. You're trying to collect these different tiles that are different kinds of like goods here. Like you see pottery. There's like a weapon. You're trying to collect sets of those so you can then go sell them on the boats for points. That's what you're trying to do. That's ultimately the entire game. You're going to be collecting cards, selling them on the boats, getting some extra bonuses that will help you out in your journey, and then maybe moving on this track to get some additional bonuses. It's really good. It doesn't get a ton of love. It looks nice. It has nice art. Rolling the meeples is fun. And it's just one that I enjoy. Not many people talk about it, but we both like it, me and Katie. And it's just a fun game. If you like auctions, you like rolling meeples, you like area control, you like set collection, this has all of that. So not too much else I can say about it other than it's fun. So there you go. That's number 124, Quetzal. All right, so number 123. This is a deep cut here. And by deep cut, I mean old. This is an old game, one that I really, really like. And it's about horses. So that should give you a little bit of a hint, because we only have a couple games that are about horses that we really like. And this was the first one that we had. It's not a looker, but boy, is it fun. This game is my number 123, Homestretch. Homestretch is a horse racing game where you're betting on the horses, but it's ultimately a roll and move game. You are rolling and moving to determine which horse is going to be rolling. And then you're going to be placing bets on how you think those horses are going to finish. So let's look at a picture here. Where's the board? Where's a good one? Here's a good one. All right, so here's the board. It shows the horses here. The horses are pretty nice. These are painted. Mine are not that nice. But you're basically going to have each of the starting gates, and there's 8 spaces around the board where they're going to move to. So every time you roll, it's going to move the horse 1 or 2 spaces. You roll that number, that horse moves. And then you're going to be bidding on the horses back here. So you're going to determine if you want it to win, get first, place, which is second or first, or show, which is third, second, or first. Okay. And then based on the probability is going to determine how much it pays out, which is the number back there. You have multiplication chips that you can put on top that will give you money. And you're trying to have the most money, which is basically the score track around. You're going to be using money to acquire horses, place bets, all that kind of thing. And you're going to have ownership in some horses where if they win, you're going to get some extra points. Fun game. Not a looker by any means, but it's solid. Rolling dice, moving horses, having ownership in the horses, betting. It's just solid. And it can play a whole pile of people, like 8 people or something, a whole bunch, which is nice. So there you go. That's whatever number this is. 123. And that's Homestretch. All right, 122. Little card game. Oh, we have a comment. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Just catching this now. Yeah, it was impromptu. I wanted to do a video, but I didn't really want to edit it. So that's where we are. My number 122 is a game that Katie's a huge fan of, and I really like it as well. Little box, all cards. Way higher on Katie's list, I would assume. I don't remember if we've talked about it on the podcast or not, but it's a solid game. So my number 122 is Sea Salt and Paper. Another game from, you guessed it, Bruno Cathala. And this is a card game where you basically have these little origami creatures that you're collecting. Let's show it here. Let's see. Here are the cards. So you have different kinds of cards here. You got boats, you got crabs, you got mermaids, penguins, all that kind of thing. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the best cards in your hand to score points, because some of them you're going to want to have in your hand, like the shell here. You have to keep those in your hand throughout the game. The more you have, the more points you're going to get. But some of them you want to play down in pairs or duos, like the boats you want to play in duos. There's a shark and a swimmer that go together that can play in duos. And they're going to let you take extra actions during the game, but they're also worth a point when you play it as a duo. And if at any point you can play all 4 mermaids, you instantly win the game. There's a little bit of a what's that game called? Hanafada element, where if I hit a certain threshold, I can say one more time, everybody can take one more turn. And if I still have the highest score, I get some points. But if someone beats me, they get a lot of points and I don't get that many. So it's got some cool scoring elements, and you play like 20, 30, or 40, depending on the number of players. The more people, the higher the score. And it's a pile of fun. It looks amazing on the table. It's worked with everybody that we've taught it to. The scoring is a little funky if you want to keep going or if you want to stop. It can get a little hairy there. That's the most complicated part. But once you learn it, it works really well, and it's just a fun game. So that is number 122, Sea Salt and Paper. All right, number 121. This is a game that not many people have. I don't believe. Sea Salt and Paper is a good one. I agree. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, Ryan. Base game only. We have the expansion. It's good. It's solid. It just adds some extra cards. But if you like the game, it's worth it. Number 121 is actually a game. Rahdo played it, and I was a big fanboy. I used to be a bigger fanboy of Rahdo than I am now. And this is a game. It's one of my favorite themes. And I'm not really a theme guy, but this is one that I really do enjoy. And it's about bands. So that should narrow it down a little bit because I don't know how many games Rahdo has covered that's about bands. But this one is about Polish thrash bands. And it is called Thrash and Roll. Or there's another version that's a smaller, it's not really smaller, but it's a more streamlined. I put that in quotes because it's really not, called Thrashing Dice. And this is a dice placement game where you are taking on the role of a band. And it's a whole bunch of different bands. Like, who's this one? The big band is Turbo. That's the national Portuguese band that is going on tour. But this is Warsaw, so you can play as Warsaw. And you're basically trying to up your stats. You can see all these tracks here. You have this guitar track. You have a music track. This is your equipment. This is how good you are. And you have instrumentalists that are also, you can level up. And what you're trying to do is you're using these dice and you're going to be putting them on this board to do different actions. So this is not a really good, it's hard to see kind of, but this, you can go to this space. You want to go on tour with Turbo. You got to meet a whole bunch of other threshold here, but you can do like radio promos. You can go visit the local PR guy. You can play some little gigs. You can go to the music store so you can upgrade your equipment. You can record record, which is this track in the middle. And that's going to determine how many, like that's the record charting. So when you chart a record, it's going to be moving up on that. And that's going to give you some points when you take certain other actions. Everything kind of goes together and compiles. What you're trying to do is you're trying to just end the game with the most points. You're going to play over so many rounds. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 8 rounds, depending on the number of players. 5 or 6 dice total. Both of the versions have different numbers of dice, so I'm a little hairy on there. And it's just you do worker placement, you take the actions, and you're leveling up on tracks. There's also like paparazzi cards, I forget what they're called, but like scandals, I think, you're going to get pictured like making an omelet in like a fuzzy pink robe, which is just embarrassing. Kind of like a musician actually getting into some kind of crazy drug scandal. But there's stupid scenarios in here. And you're going to have fans that are going to come along and help you. They'll go into your hand. They can help you level up some characters. They can help you take different actions. They can maybe give you like bonus dice that you can use on your turn to help you out on your journey. A bunch of things you can do. It's a ton of fun. And I like it. My only real complaint with the game is the rule book is a piece of trash. I mean, it is unbearably bad. It was probably translated from Portuguese, I would assume. This is a cool theme, Ryan. I agree. More games should be about rock and roll. I'm doing my part to talk about as many of them as I can. But the rule book is bad. Even in Thrashing Dice, which is the re-implementation, still bad. So there is a cheat sheet you can get on BGG, which I have in the box, which does help. It breaks down the spaces a little bit better because everything is iconography, and some of the iconography is not good. So it breaks down all the spaces. It lays out the turn order, talks about rounds, all that stuff, and it helps you play this game. Otherwise, it'll be really difficult. You can watch Rahdo, but you can't go to his video every time you have a question. So there you go. So that was my 121. Probably it's my favorite one on this list. One I would play definitely more if the rule book didn't stink. And it's a little long. It can go on a little bit longer than I would like. So that's all I got for today. I needed to do this video. I'm trying to get through this 100 beyond the 100. I didn't really want to edit. I'm lazy. So I decided to do it live. Muted my mic at the beginning. Whatever. You get what you get here. We're just pretty okay. So if you did tune in while we were live, thank you. It was nice chatting with you, seeing some comments. Otherwise, if you want to watch this after the fact, enjoy, have fun, and I'll try to come back, within the next couple of weeks and finish this off. I have 2 sections left. We're almost done, and we're narrowing down to the podcast. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's coming along. And you are welcome, Ryan. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Hopefully there's some cool games on there that you enjoy. Well, I know they were because you commented, but maybe if you haven't played some of them, you go check them out. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for watching. And you know the drill. Like, subscribe, all that thing if you're interested or if you care. Otherwise, hey, Mark, you have a good night too. Thanks for joining. Otherwise, thanks for watching. And as always, keep gaming.